Okay, it is Monday, the 15th of December, and I hope we all have our Christmas stockings full of nice stocks to carry us into 2026. And so we're just going to look at a couple of things here, and we're going to go through what's in the report: XLE, Oracle, Ouster, and Eco Petrol to start off with. And then we're going to have a little quick look at some of the futures markets, capital markets, guys in the room. But kicking things off, we're looking at XLE, right? So you got here is monthly bars, decade VWAP. You'll see that there is this real holdup of trade, which now this has recently split 2 for 1 on the ETF. So if you haven't looked at XLE in quite a while, this is currently trading 45 69s in the pre-market. But in this range, really set by the highs of June 2008, with not taking into account this blip over in 2014, but we're really stuck in the rut here of about 44.26s to that high of 45.69s, right? And yeah, we've had a dip and drive into the decade prior value area high with no close below there since May, actually June. So this is pretty good and constructive. But what I really wanted to cover in the VWAP report this week is how this is now a sort of infrastructure for the AI boom play. Now, it kind of always has been, but that hasn't really been priced in. If we go back to April, I mean, you can see we haven't been aggressively lifting here the same way the AI sector has been. However, we have remained elevated really for the past 3 years actually on XLE. And so monthly bars again here. So, obviously really nice value play to buy the dip in April there. I mean, what wasn't? But we're not back to the levels that we were at pre-Liberation Day. But I've understood about this is playing this on the short side as a little bit of a hedge to my outright long plays in things like NRT, Petrobras, and whatnot. Um, it's just not playing ball, kind of come off and be correlated with front month futures, which you would normally see a lot of that. However, this is standing up and holding up pretty well, and I think we are going to get a breakout on XLE. I'm not saying this week, but I think in the first, for the next 2 quarters, given the structure of oil futures looking really bad until we get to really June of 2026, um, NRT is just not having any of that, and it's remaining quite elevated. I mean, the all-time high is at 50.76 now. So I think the closer we get to June 2026, the clearer this breakout is going to be. Now, this is IB up on the decade here, so this is a BPB long. This is also a BPB long with a strong flush below. So, if this was an intraday trade, we would be probably stopped out of that. If you're just blindly buying the level, if you're reading flows and whatnot, you're going to be a bit safer there, or you're going to be going max 3 times on a trade. But yeah, well, anyway, I like the longs. All right, so if we go back down to like the daily structure here, you can kind of see what I'm looking at. Is that if I hide some of these drawings, can I do that? Hide the drawings. Yeah. So here you go. You can see that we are now balancing quite nicely on the top of the yearly +1 deviation, and I think this will bring the buyers in. So what is the other catalyst for this long is that we have extra fresh, hot off the printer liquidity from Jerome and the crew, 40 billion in T-bills buying per month. And so that's the front of the curve. Um, so there's fresh liquidity in here. I think people like the tangential sort of infrastructure and energy um, trade as a tangential trade to the AI trade. I think they're in here. I think that's what's happening. That's what's been happening distinctly more so over the last 4 to 6 weeks, actually. Um, because there was, if we go back to like September, October, there was everything going for this to follow suit to the downside with futures and just didn't do it. So, I think once we get up to this sort of prior monthly level around 46.96s, we'll call it 47s. you could have a breakout on your hands. So, the prior attempt to break out over that level back over here, um, when was that? That was January this year and in March, and then we went into Liberation Day lows. I think we don't have any of that headwind for XLE in the energy sector at the moment. I think for the value hunters, know, I think they're probably going to want to buy a bit of this. The bigger value trade, I have put this in the report, is buying on a pullback the decade VWAP coming in about 33.30s at the moment. And I think it will have a very, very, very strong rally out of there. If you get anything near that level of value, um, I don't see that happening, very unlikely to happen. But if there is a market route, um, it would probably trade down there and I would be super long at that level. So yeah, just one last look at XLE here. So I think this is a trade, this is IB inbounds pull back long on the yearly plus one and go. So let's see what we get this week into the Santa rally. Next, moving on to another darling at the moment is Oracle, and pretty related in that tangential way to this AI energy boom, right? So this is the AI energy, this is the AI infrastructure company in play, right? And so really, we're just looking at. Actually, I posted a chart about this last week. The pullback into the decade plus one deviation, and I like the longs from this area. Now it can easily flush to the yearly prior high at 168, 160, well, 168 even, right? It could easily flush to there, but then I think it's still a great buy to move on to all-time highs. The concerns obviously we're down 3 months now back to back. We're like 45%, I think, off the all-time highs put in there in September. Yeah, we're 45% off the all-time highs. I think that could go down to 51.8% off the all-time highs and then re-rally. So you're not really seeing that re-rally coming in at this point here. But the contact for that is just another push down there, about another 10% down. And then I think this is where the buyers will really want to come in, get long this, because ultimately they are committing to 50 billion of infrastructure spend, AI data center infrastructure spend next year, with 12 billion of that coming in one of the quarters alone. So it's like it's crazy. So if they are setting out to own the AI infrastructure, that sounds good to me. It's just, AI has to do a bit more than giving us insane, realistic, weird videos and generally just journalistic pulp. Uh, it's got to do a bit more than that for this to really start to prove revenues for the industry. So there is quite a lot of risk in here, as well. If this story starts to get a lot shitter about the real revenue potential from AI, from OpenAI, from all the different models, which they're not revenue positive at the moment. So any which way, look, I like this one. We're kind of looking at strategy, um, micro strategy there. What was this trade here? Imbalance pullback long to the decade VWAP, and yeah, fine. It's only up like 0.4% from that contact. But I just heard on the squawk that strategy are buying another $1 billion worth of Bitcoin today. So I don't think they're too worried about this pull off the highs, and ultimately, I think that this technical setup is a long. That's what I put in the VWAP report a couple of weeks ago. So anyway, we've covered Oracle there. I like the longs. I like this tech as well. LiDAR technology. LiDAR, these guys make LiDAR sensors for advanced 3D machinery. Technically, I like this a lot as well. So it's kind of pushed above the decade VWAP, gone to one deviation positive, pull back, and you see the buyers are here. So ultimately, I think this is a really good tech, a really well positioned company for tech. Fortunately, there's no divvies, no dividends. So I'm not completely in love with it, but I do like the technical setup for this to get back up to the 78 bucks from its current 24.88. And that's about a 200 odd percent move to get back up to the resistance. They're sitting from the March 21 lows at 78 bucks. So let's keep an eye on this. Again, as I said in the report, these are much longer dated swing to position type of trades. This is not like intraday trading on the indexes sort of guidance. And I just thought that's kind of a good way to kind of round off on the year. Now to go on to something that's a bit more high quality and sticking with this AI boom, energy, oil and gas sort of what can come, what is coming, really trading the macro future, rather than macro futures, which are a different thing altogether, really. If you know your apples on your pears, um, you've got Eco Petrol, right? East, okay, so these guys are an oil and gas company, and essentially, what's it? 10.19% dividend on this thing. Okay. So you're getting paid for owning it and adopting that risk. Now the structure on this trade is just A1, Sharon, as we would say in Ireland. So um lovely, lovely structure here. So you've got decade prior value area low structure here. And you see in March 2020, that was just an absolute screamer of a buy for this company. And you were buying $7 there and you were trading that up to 1981s. You're probably still long this thing. So again, they're buying it again November last year at 722s, finding it harder to rip up. But the key thing is here, we are trading what is called rotational from side here at the sevens to side up, way up here at, sorry, way up there at 38. And the whole structure on this is very similar to what I've seen with NRT, the price sort of structure to this. Obviously, it's not the same price, but the price structure is very similar. And I see this thing ripping and roaring back up to 19, which was the high put in there, April 22. Um, two, and back up to the IPO price at around $23. So I like that. You're going to get paid the dividends, the tune of 10.19%. And I think that's nice. It's a big, big, big trade. That's not something you're in and out within a week or 5 weeks. Or this is really something I would really like to have in my pension portfolio and just collect those dividends forever after. Um, so it could be a good stocking filler as well for the trader in your life. Here you go. There's a share search for Echo Petrol. Well, don't thank me. Just thank your 10.19% dividends quarterly. How about that? Well, sorry, that's dividend annual yield there. But yeah, you're getting 10% annual. What a gift. What a lovely gift. Probably the missus won't be too happy with you if that's her Christmas gift. All right, so we're going to finish it up there on the recording. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great week. Uh, unless I am on in the holiday period, have a fantastic Christmas. See you on the other side.